The Walking Dead Season 9 Episode 4. When leading a herd away from the main communities, Rick falls off his horse and lands on some debris. The episode ends with Rick still impaled, and then in the next episode, episode 5, Rick Grimes' final episode, he sees a collection of hallucination, but the episode starts off with him looking over his younger self in season 1, and he looks out the window on the left and sees a city, and on the skyline of this city is the same birds he saw with Michonne and Judith. And after that, he then sees a herd of helicopters crash through the sky towards him. But this is a hallucination, a collection of his past, so why did he see so many helicopters? I believe what Rick is seeing here is the future, and by the end of this video, I think you will too. Of course, before we go any further, if you want to win this comic Rick Grimes action figure, all you've got to do is follow me on Twitter and Instagram and subscribe to the channel. The giveaway ends on the 26th of June, and the winner will be announced in the nearest video to that date. So this is something that I completely forgot about after Rick Grimes left. I remember all the characters that returned for his episode, but I never really thought about this scene. Of course, I wasn't really doing YouTube at the time of Rick's final episode, so there's nothing I could really think about. I just watched it and carried on. Of course, I had my theories, but never did I think there was anything to it. That was until a couple of weeks ago when a supporter of the channel reached out to me. His name is Toby Farrant, or Toby Farrant Art. He's got some genuinely good artwork. He drew Michonne, so if you actually want to see some good art, then make sure to go and check it out. But he basically messaged me saying the building Rick is in when he sees his younger self laying in the hospital bed isn't Atlanta. Now, here's an image of actual Atlanta in real life, and it does look a bit different. Now, there are definitely some similarities, but I think there are similarities in most skyline cities. So this is where I ask you watching this video right now, what city is this? Maybe it is Atlanta, maybe it is Kentucky. That's where Rick is originally from in the comics. But if you know what this city is, if you know where this is, then make sure to comment down below right now. Because this theory suggests that what Rick sees in this hospital when he looks out of this window, he is seeing the future. Of course, Rick sees these birds that he saw with Michonne and Judith. These birds are called starlings, and when they form together like this, it's called a myrmation. Normally, starlings form this myrmation to keep warm and to have safety in numbers, to prevent a falcon sweeping in and getting a single kill. This is understandable. Rick saw these birds. Rick was at the peak of his family life when he first saw them, but it's what they mean that really matter. Remember, these starlings are together like this to keep warm and to prevent a single kill from a falcon. They're doing this because there's safety in numbers. Just after seeing these birds, a swarm of helicopters roar through the city. Now, you can say all you want about this just being done for dramatical effect, how it doesn't matter because it's all in Rick's head. But this has to mean something. It has to give us some foreshadowing of where Rick Grimes is. By the time of this episode, Rick had not seen a helicopter for 7 years. The birds make sense. Rick saw those birds. All these characters returning makes sense. But Rick seeing a swarm of helicopters moments before being rescued by one, I think is a direct hint from Angela Kang of what we're going to see in these Rick Grimes movies. Since we saw Jadis attempting to put people onto these helicopters and trade people off, she's always been desperate to go there. When talking to Gabriel, she said to him they'd have a life like no other. This is why I think if the CRM is the Commonwealth, the TV show are going to do it completely differently. Because if Jadis is so desperate to go to somewhere that is just the Commonwealth, we've seen that in the comics it's not that much better than the 3 communities she's already at. And from what we've seen of the CRM so far, from how desperate we've seen Jadis is to get there, it's going to be on a completely other level than all these communities we've seen throughout the show. And so with the CRM, I think it would be more than just some cool armor, more than just the sports, more than just a more realistic civilization. I think it's an empire of people with this armor. The armored people, of course, being the guards, the soldiers of the city, of the empire, protecting the civilians. Helicopters flying throughout the city. Fear the Walking Dead is set in Texas, yet even they're seeing this CRM. With helicopters flying over Virginia, that's how they got Rick and Jadis. We'd have to assume there's so much more than just what the Commonwealth are in the comics. When Scott Gimple announced all of this, he said the Rick Grimes movies would have a more sci-fi feel, and so I wouldn't underestimate what he's got planned. In terms of how outrageous it could go, I see it even being more outrageous than the comic. With the armor being so similar to the Commonwealth, or at least in terms of what it means, the community it belongs to, it does look like it's going to be replacing the Commonwealth, which of course is a story arc I don't think many people would mind being skipped. If the Commonwealth story arc isn't being replaced by the CRM one, then expect the Commonwealth to be completely toned down in terms of how powerful they are and how sophisticated they seem to be to the characters of the main show. I don't see them showing off two big communities that prove to be the New World Order in just a 3 to 4 year time span of the show and the movies. And with Rick not coming back to the main show for a full season, it wouldn't matter if it was an episode, it still means the same thing in the end. They can't really associate the CRM with the main show too much. Unless of course Rick does return, but like I've said, I genuinely think he's going to die in the third movie. People like to comment a lot that Scott Gimple said he won't die in the movies, therefore it's true. That Scott Gimple confirmed Rick Grimes won't die in the movies, but I don't believe that. It's not the first time he said something like this. Do you really think he'd tell us if he dies or not? And of course, remember what Andrew Lincoln said, it's his last season. Can he go back for an episode or two? Absolutely, but when it comes to the actors of the show saying that they're going to leave, that this is their last season as the character, they seriously can't lie about that. Just think to yourself, how many ways are there you can close a character without leaving it too open-ended? Could Rick and Michonne just walk off together away from the communities? It's unlikely. Will Rick stay at this community and not go back to Alexandria? Possibly. I think he's going to return to the main show for an episode or two to see his kids and then return. He could for all these years have been staying at the CRM doing what they do. But either way, I think what Andrew Lincoln was trying to say, I mean, obviously, is that he won't return. It's not just a break. He said he's having a break from acting, but when he says his last season, it wasn't even a full season. So I don't think we can hang on to Andrew Lincoln's words that much. The idea is that he will never return, and his story will close in these movies, but what way will that be? Because the whole point of this video is to just discuss how sophisticated and how next level the CRM really is, and I think when Rick hallucinated this, it's foreshadowing the future for sure. So in the movies, don't just expect a community of people, expect a whole empire, a whole new side to The Walking Dead. Now, going back to this city, remember, Rick didn't actually wake up in Atlanta. He woke up in Georgia, but it was a suburb around Atlanta. This also isn't the hospital we see in season 5 where Beth dies. So this is an almost unseen location within the Walking Dead universe. So make sure you comment below what you think this is. I've tried looking all over. I've looked at most cities I can think of. It looks like Atlanta, but I don't want to say it is for sure. So of course it could just be Atlanta, but just make sure to let me know in the comments what you think this is. Of course I've tried looking all over and it just looks like Atlanta, but if it isn't, this could lead us to where Rick Grimes is. And of course let me know what you think about my opinion on these helicopters. Do you think they mean anything? I personally think this is what it's going to be like in the movies. Like, this is going to be exactly what it's like. A big city, an empire with helicopters flying around, because if they're in Texas, if they're in Virginia too, we've got to assume the CRM covers a lot more than just where The Walking Dead shows, that there's a lot more than one helicopter. On the top right of your screen, there's going to be an eye icon. Just click or tap on that and you can vote in the poll. Do you think these helicopters have any relevance to what could happen in the Rick Grimes movies? Do you think this is what the movies could be like? And of course, comment below what you think. I genuinely want to hear what you've got to say. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support me, then make sure to press the like button, it genuinely helps. And if you want to know more about Rick Grimes, if you want to know everything you need to know so far, then make sure to check out the Finding Rick Grimes playlist. It's got all my videos about Finding Rick Grimes so far and yet to come. And of course, make sure to go and check out yesterday's video about a certain character in Fear the Walking Dead Season 5 that I think is gonna die. I found some pretty creepy stuff when making that video, something that leads to quite a shocking death. And lastly, because I recently hit 20,000 subscribers, I made a Q&A video where we talk about Rick Grimes returning, Maggie vs Michonne, Negan finding Lucille, and when Heath will return and what's gonna happen to him. If you're excited for Season 10, then I really recommend that video. And of course, make sure to subscribe so that you're the first to hear about The Walking Dead. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon.